Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All together, please. Om Jnana Timarandasya Ganandana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stabitam Yena Bhutale Shrayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yukta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvanetam Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padang Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopi Radha Kanta Namostate Tapcha Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishavana Sudadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So thank you all for coming to class. Today's verse is number 80. There isn't 80 verses, I think. 74. Okay. Yes. So please repeat. Sanjyovacha iti aham vasudevasya pathasya cha mahatmana samvadam imam ashrosham adbhutam brahmahashinam. Okay, word, please repeat. Sanjaya Vacha. Sanjay said, Iti, thus, Aham, I, Vasudevasya, of Krishna, Pathasya, and Arjuna, Cha, also, Mahatman Atmana, the great soul, Sambadam, discussion, Imam, this, Ashrosham, have heard, Adbhutam, wonderful, Romahashinam, making the hair stand on end. Sanjay said, I'll say it, then we repeat step by step. Sanjay said, thus I have heard the conversation of the two great souls, Krishna and Arjuna, and so wonderful is that message that my hair is standing on end. Please repeat. Sanjay Vacha. Thus I have heard. Thus I have heard the conversation of the two great souls, Krishna and Arjuna, and so wonderful is that message that my hair is standing on end. Okay, purport Srila Prabhupada. In the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Dhritarashtra inquired from his secretary Sanjay, what happened on the battlefield of Kurukshetra? The entire study was related to the heart of Sanjay by the grace of his spiritual master Vyas. He thus explained the theme of the battlefield. The conversation was wonderful because such an important conversation between two great souls had never taken place before and would not take place again. It was wonderful because the Supreme Personality of Godhead was speaking about himself and his energies to the living entity. Arjuna, the great devotee of the Lord, if we follow in the footsteps of Arjuna to understand Krishna, then our life will be happy and successful. Sanjay realized this, and as he began to understand it, he related the conversation to Dhritarashtra. Now it is concluded that wherever there is Krishna and Arjuna, there is victory. Yes. Mukam karochi vachalam pangam laite girim yad kripa tamaham bande Sri Guru Dinatarinam. Sanjaya vacha iti aham vasudevasya pathasya cha mahatmana sambadam imam ashrosham adbhutam romahashanam. Sanjay said, thus I have heard the conversation of two great souls, Krishna and Arjuna, and so wonderful is that message that my hair is standing on end. Yes. So Prabhupada makes the technical point at the beginning. How did Sanjay see the conversation? Right? He was not on the battlefield. What to speak of sitting near the chariot. So he's the disciple of Vyasadeva. And Vyasadeva, he is Shaktivesh avatar. He is specially empowered to write down the Vedas for Kali Yuga. Previously, in different yugas, Dwapara Yuga, Treta Yuga, the Vedas were memorized. People had greater capabilities then. And Veda Vyas, he is Shaktivesh. That means a Vesh dressed in the Shakti, the energy of the Supreme. So all mystic power is there. So he could convey by the potency of his consciousness the scene to Sanjay. Now, in the modern day, people cannot remember where they live sometimes, but we may find this extraordinary, but we understand that actually time has degraded. Often in the modern atheistic science, they say, oh, we were primitive 100,000 years ago. Then human beings started to develop through evolution and so on and so forth. But we don't accept that. The description in the Vedas is very consistent, very natural, and very satisfying. And the great sages who have become rishis and learned, they realize this. Because the ultimate instrument of knowledge is the consciousness. And we saw earlier, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hriday Se Arjuna Tistati, that Krishna resides in the heart of all living beings, in the human being, and so on. So a great soul, a great rishi like Vyasadeva, and also a great disciple like Sanjay, they can communicate with the Supreme Lord in the heart. So this is how the conversation was conveyed to Sanjay. So then the second part of it is that Sanjay said, I'm just completely amazed at the conversation. Yes, the Vedas, if we want to understand the Vedas in nutshell form, Just like in this world, if there's a camera, then the manufacturer makes uh, a manual, a guidance manual, an operation manual by which the camera can be operated. So similarly, this is a creation, the material world, and we know from the Vedas that there is a spiritual transcendental realm. So it is a creation. So it is sometimes faulty or man-made creation. But this creation is has a manual also, material and spiritual, and that is the Vedas. There's a morning conversation where Prabhupada says, somebody asked the question to Prabhupada rather, when were the Vedas written or created? Prabhupada said, Vedas means knowledge. When was knowledge created? Knowledge is ever existent. So the knowledge of the material world and the spiritual world, that is ever existent. The material world is fluctuated into existence, we know from the Bhagavatam, over gigantic long periods. So the Vedas is the knowledge of how somebody can live in this world and how one can achieve one's goals. And the highest goal of all, Prem Purusha, the Purushartha, the highest is to develop love of God. So this is the ultimate encouragement of the Vedas, that this material world, it is a temporary fluctuating place. It is a place of birth, death, old age, and disease. Everything is temporary here. But the spiritual world is eternal. Here we're subject to time and space and karma. But there in the spiritual world, we are informed that time is the servant of Leela. Here we're dominated by time. But in the spiritual world, if Krishna wants to dance all night with the gopis, for example, as described in the Bhagavatam, it is described there that Krishna danced one night time of Lord Brahma in one earth night. So time is the servant. Space is the servant. In the spiritual world, there are infinite number of souls, but they can all sit next to Krishna, because space and time that we experience here, the limiting factors, that is a different realm. There is a different creation. There is different coordinates to it. So the Vedas describe these amazing things, and they encourage us, don't stay in this material world. And that is the ultimate knowledge in this material world, that you should regulate your life and you should develop spiritual realization and transfer to that realm. To put it all very simply, you should develop love of God, prem, bhava, attraction for the Supreme Lord, and you should progressively lose attraction for dhanam, janam, sundaram, these material things, wealth, position, family, sex life, dynasty, all these things. You should search for the eternal rather than these things. This is the message of the Vedas. And the Vedas, Vedavyas, he constructed the Vedas, and then he was not satisfied. I'm sure you know the story. Premnidi, you know. He was not satisfied. So his spiritual master, Narada Muni, son of Lord Brahma, came, and he said, and they had a conversation, and Vedavyas was told, actually, the reason you're dissatisfied is that now that Kali Yuga is coming, you have written down all the Vedas in a very wonderful, elaborate form, and you've divided them into four. I believe the original Veda was the Atharva Veda, but then it was sectioned into four, the Rig, Sama, and so on. But you have not specifically glorified the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You've given all these yagyas and how to perform dharma, religious life, what the valid goals of artha, sense enjoyment are, what is moksha, and so on and so forth. You put all these things in relation to the material creation. You've given a good handbook, a good manual on that subject, but you haven't glorified the Supreme Lord. You haven't expounded on the nature of the Supreme Personality and thereby his abode. And that is most important, because we, in the 4th chapter, 11th verse, Janma Karma Tame Divyam Evam Yo Viditatvatah, that if you understand and know in truth, and you realize through sadhana bhakti, in Kali Yuga that means chanting and living a pure life, then in tattva, if you know the Supreme Person, then purna janma navijate. You will no longer see birth and death in this material world. You'll transfer to the spiritual world. So the ticket, if you like, or the route to transcendental eternal life is given in the Gita. If you want to go and get eternal life, then realize the Supreme Person. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is for that purpose. This is the important point. That it's called the Amala Puran because it doesn't discuss with karma or jnana. It just relates the relationship between Krishna and his devotees in a progressively more intimate way until we come to the Ras Leela and the Gopis and Braja Vrindavan. Before that, there is Dhruva Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj. These are all wonderful devotees. But the 10th canto is the description, a snapshot, an introduction to the spiritual world. So that is the crest jewel of the Vedas, that it describes a spiritual world and how to go there. Because we're in the cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease here. We're not getting any younger, any healthier. We're heading towards the cycle of birth and death. So that is absent in the spiritual world. You're all devotees, you all know that. So how to get out? Like I say, it is by realizing Krishna. And when we realize Krishna, we realize our relationship with Krishna. Just like if I want to have a relationship with Narendra Modi, he's the Prime Minister of India. First, I have to know Narendra Modi. I have to get to know him. Then I can have a relationship with him. Huh? So, realizing Krishna through the Shastra, through sadhana, then we will realize our relationship with Krishna. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Sadhakabana. Everything is there within the soul in seed form. Just like the tree is within the seed in seed form. The material nature adds energy to the seed, and then we have the tree growing. So we all have a spiritual body, we all have a spiritual form, but it's in seed form within the soul. Now, when we perform sadhana bhakti, then that seed awakens, and by the supervision of Yogamaya Krishna, our spiritual body develops on the basis of our constitutional nature as a servant of Krishna. So that is the subject matter of all the Vedas, and the Bhagavad Gita brings that to the fore by saying, surrender to me, to Arjuna, in this last section. So, now I thought, and Sanjay is thrilled to hear this message. He's thrilled This is an incredible conversation. And I too also, I remember the first time I read, got some kind of allergic reaction. First time I read Bhagavad Gita, if I may say, I got it by mail order. And at that time, I was studying Oriental philosophy, and I'd read many, many yogis and poets from India. And then my tutor, he told me, get the Bhagavad Gita. And I read one from the Theosophical Society, one from the Lucis Trust, and then I got a third copy from Srila Prabhupada by mail order. So I remember reading it. And I remember thinking, I got it by mail order, and I was just thrilled to open it, actually. I don't know why, before I opened it. And so I read the book, and I was amazed. Because being student and so on and so forth, you're told to read, then read critically. Do you know what I mean? And then write something about what's your reaction. So I used to read Aurobindo, and I used to read Ramana Rishi and so many, and all the famous saints and Yogananda and all these. So read critically, and then write something. That was the system of study. So I was used to reading critically. And so I read Bhagavad Gita. First read, meaning you absorb what's in the Gita. You don't read critically at the beginning. You try to understand the other person's point of view, what their message is. Then you read critically. So I remember reading the Bhagavad Gita and thinking, there's nothing wrong here. This book is perfect. This book is thrilling. And I remember I read it in 3-4 days. And because that was, you didn't have any job or anything. You're a student. You just read all day and sleep and read and sleep. So anyway, so I remember at one point I was halfway through and I was thinking, I'm scared to turn the page because if I look on the next page, I'll find some fault. I'll find something that I don't agree with, something that's illogical, that's not satisfactory. But I couldn't. I read the whole book. And so then I went, that next weekend, I went down to the address, Bhaktivedanta Manor, and who was there? Have a guess. Srila Prabhupada, yes, that's right. I'm Srila Prabhupada. So I thought, this is Krishna's arrangement. Because I'd read the Gita and everything is Krishna's arrangement, right? Krishna is the ultimate supervisor. So I gave up that study and became student of Prabhupada. Huh? I forget. No, it's 20-something, 25 or something like that. So I'd studied English before that, and I was studying something else. So I was also thrilled. I mean, not like Sanjay, but I remember reading the Bhagavad Gita and being amazed. Because say you have this camera, right? Just a simple example, and you've got no manual. What happens? You're poking, what's this button? And you have to, should I push it for 2 seconds or 1 second? And then somebody gives you the manual to the camera. Then you think, oh, this is what it is. This is, confirmed. So that's how the Bhagavad Gita is. And therefore Prabhupada called it the Bhagavad Gita. Hello, Chakrada. The Bhagavad Gita is giving this perfect understanding of our life, our situation in life, what our goals of life should be, what the laws of karma is. I remember in those days, karma and the idea of guru and karma was just coming into Western society because Prabhupada had been preaching, and also some other Western swamis and karma. And people used to say, that's bad karma, don't do that, and this and that. So when you read the Gita, all these laws of the universe become evident if you're ready to listen. And so that's why I thought we would go back now, because there's an interesting end section, and we'll read it all from, thought I put something in. No. We'll read this concluding section. This is making me very itchy, sorry. Getting some reaction. Yes. That's today, 74. But the end section begins, we will say here, Arjuna gives the whole knowledge, and then at the 18th chapter here, on verse 63. Now there's 78 verses in this chapter. Krishna then says something very important. Thus I have explained to you knowledge still more confidential. Deliberate on this fully, and then do what you wish to do. Right? So this is a very important point. Krishna says, he encourages surrender, but he says it's up to you. Right? It's up to you. Arjuna, you decide. You were wavering at the beginning, but now you still have the choice. So this is very interesting. Krishna is supremely powerful, but he gives us choice. He's not a dictator. He's the ultimate liberal. And that's his humility, actually. If you know Krishna, he doesn't feel like I have the right to interfere with the free will of a person. This is a very interesting point. That Krishna, he is unlimited in all respects, so his humility is unlimited. So even though we are tiny little spirit souls completely dependent upon him, he doesn't think that I have the right to dictate to you. You must make your own choice. This very endearing quality of Krishna. He is under the control of his devotees. So he doesn't dictate, you must surrender. He suggests in the heart, Ishvara Sarvabhutanam, he gives conscience. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's not good. He tries to give a hint, but if anyone, or if one wants to do something, then one can do it, even if it's harmful. So then, any question on that point? Then do what you wish to do, right? So we have free will. Because you, my dear friend, I am speaking to you the supreme instruction. So because Arjuna is the friend of Krishna, this supreme instruction, which is just about to come, is being spoken. I am speaking to you the most confidential knowledge of all. Hear this from me, for it is for your benefit. So I'm your friend, and I'm giving you knowledge that's for your benefit, Arjuna. And then, here's the supreme instruction. Manmana bhava mad bhakto. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, offer your homage to me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you're my very dear friend. right? So that is bhakti sadhana, right? Yena tena prakarena. Somehow or other, put your mind on the transcendental platform as described in the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Vedas. But do it in a devotional way. You will not be able to maintain your mind on the spiritual platform without devotion. And then worship me. Yaji means you do everything as an offering to me. Then you'll come to me without fail. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. So that means dharmas, all material dharmas. Don't bother with them. Just try to surrender unto me. And that means surrender to me, become conscious of me in your heart. Earlier, Krishna said, become conscious of me and I will guide you. I will give you intelligence. Like I say, conscience is there. I shall deliver you from sinful reactions. We all in this material world, we all have some karmic debt, good or bad, but I will deliver you from that. Krishna is telling Arjuna, don't worry, I'm the Supreme Lord. I've already shown you the universal form. Now, just surrender to me in full confidence. This confident now, 67. Today's verse is 68, right? Huh? 74, okay. This confidential knowledge may never be explained to those who are not austere, number one. So if you're a sense enjoyer in an undisciplined way, of course, if you're married and so on and so forth, you have to satisfy the body. But if you're not austere, that means if you're like a wild man trying to enjoy your senses, then this confidential knowledge should not be explained to those not devoted also and not engaged in devotional service, nor to one who is envious of the Supreme Lord. You shouldn't throw your pearls before swine, it says in another scripture, because then the swine, the pigs, will trample. So the pearls of your knowledge you give to your friends and qualified people. For one, now this is interesting, for one who explains this supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end he will come back to me. So I was just listening to a lecture this afternoon, and Prabhupada was saying everyone should become guru. That is the order of Lord Chaitanya. Amara aguru kara eidesh. On my order become guru. How? Yare deke tarikaha Krishna Upadesh. You just tell people about Krishna. You don't have to, and Prabhupada says, you don't have to do a gigantic, I traveled all over the world and so on and so forth, but you can just be the local guru. And if you want, you can be the guru of your family. And he said the mother should be guru and the father, they should be guru. They should teach this knowledge about the spiritual world and how to go there to their children. We should be guru in that way. It's not that we have to be guru like Madhvacharya or Ramanujacharya. You understand? We just learn this knowledge and we try to distribute this knowledge. And if Krishna has the mission of making us another Prabhupada, let that be so. But no, just be local guru. And if you can't become local guru, be guru of your own senses. Right? Teach yourself if you can't teach anybody else. Right? Find fault with yourself, not other people. This is the way of the sadhu. So Krishna is saying that. And if you do this, if you become guru to your children, guru to your local community, you have a kirtan group, you will come back to me. You're very dear to me. It's not that you have to, like Srila Prabhupada, make 5,000 disciples and translate hundreds of books and comment. Prabhupada was empowered in Charya. You just become local guru. Prabhupada says that, local guru. Just guru of the block. Just tell people, you should chant Hare Krishna. You're a nice person. It'll do you a lot of good. So, and then you'll go to Krishna, right? At the end, he will come back to me. Now, 69. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. So if you spread this knowledge, even just as a local guru, not as Madhvacharya, not as Vishnu Swami, or not as some big acharya, you just teach your children how to chant, how to play kirtan, what the knowledge of the spiritual world is. Then Krishna makes the same point again in this verse, right? There's no servant in the world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. So distributing this knowledge. So this is an important point, that we shouldn't think, there are gurus and then there are devotees who are not gurus. No. All these devotees are gurus. If you know something, you're guru. There's a story about Saraswati. You know the story? It's a very famous story. Prabhupada had disciples, Shyam Sundar and his wife. I'm not sure who his wife was, but they had a beautiful little daughter, a little girl called Saraswati. And she was delightful. She was always happy and smiling, and Prabhupada loved her, and everyone loved Saraswati. And once some guest came to see Prabhupada. And Prabhupada was welcoming them and this and that. And then Saraswati stood up and said, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just out of nowhere. And then Prabhupada said, This is Guru. Right? So you don't have to think about, societal votings and all that. That may be there as a check and balance. Okay. But here is a little girl. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is Guru. So that is Guru, right? That is the essential fact of Guru. You have some knowledge and you teach it, right? So, and then Krishna says, there's no one more dear to me than little Saraswati. So, and I declare, this is Krishna, of course, he who studies this sacred conversation of ours worships me by his intelligence. Right? This is bhajan. What we're doing now, we're studying together. This is worship. Service doesn't just mean sweeping the floor. Very good, excellent. Running here and there, painting the wall or this and that. Or, paying the electric bill. The most important thing is shravanam, to hear the spiritual knowledge that will purify and enthuse you. So that is bhajan in itself. It's not that sometimes I ask people, please come to class. And that person says, no, I have service. No, class is service, right? Chanting is service. Your seva bhav is there, right? So this is an important point. Of course, we all have duties in the temple and the managers want to get this and that done, but we should also understand from Krishna, service means any way to put the devotional mind on Krishna. That is service. Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam, favorable devotion. So there's 9 types of service. Right? Then the next one, and one who listens with faith, without envy, becomes free from sinful reactions and attains to the auspicious planets where the pious dwell. So, if somebody is just sitting in the temple and there's a Bhagavad Gita class going on and somebody from Delhi comes and sits and listens, oh, that's interesting, this and that, he becomes free from sinful reaction and attains to auspicious planets where the pious dwell. So that means he may not be exactly liberated, but he will go to a higher realm where he'll associate with high-level spiritual persons. O son of Pritha, O conqueror of wealth, have you heard this with an attentive mind? Are your ignorance and illusion now dispelled? This is Krishna. Now Arjuna said, my dear Krishna, O infallible one, my illusion is now gone. I have regained my memory by your mercy. I am now firm and free from doubt and prepared to act according to your instructions. Yes, so this is the potency of spiritual knowledge. Sometimes it is said that Shastra is more powerful than Astra. Weapons. You may beat somebody with a weapon, but they still disagree with you. But if you explain the spiritual knowledge, you don't have to beat me now. I agree with you. So the words are more strong. So Arjuna says that. And then we have today's verse. Thus I have heard the conversation of the two great souls, Krishna and Arjuna. So wonderful is that message, my hair is standing on end. Now, next verse. By the mercy of Vyas, I have heard these most confidential talks directly from the master of all mysticism, Krishna. He is the absolute supreme Lord, who was speaking personally to Arjuna. Now, number 76. O king, as I repeatedly recall this wondrous and holy dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, I take pleasure, being thrilled at every moment. Yes, and like I say in my own small way, when I first read Bhagavad Gita, that's how I felt, right? I remember, I told you, I was reading it and I was thinking, this is really good. Maybe I'll find a mistake on the next page. But there was no page. And I told you, I was a bit nervous. Oh, I don't want to find a mistake because it's so good. Like I said, read critically and then write. That was the idea. Right? And then Sanjay is repeating in his ecstasy, O king, as I remember the wonderful form of Lord Krishna, I am struck with wonder more and more, and I rejoice again and again. Right? It's just like, wow, that's interesting. There's a spiritual world. I'm an eternal being. This material world is not my home. If I chant Hare Krishna, I become devoted. I put my conscious, I can go to the spiritual world. I should become guru of the block of my family. I should tell people, Krishna is the supreme personality. I should follow in the footsteps of Saraswati Mahajan. Right? Very simple, right? And then the final verse. And then Sanjay, this is the end verse. Wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there's Arjuna, his devotee, the supreme archer, there will also be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion. Okay, now I'm going to say it 4 times, these 4 things again, and you have to remember them. It's testing time. Opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. What's the first one? Opulence, victory. That's number 4. Extraordinary power, yeah. So opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion. That is his humility to say that. Opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. Yes. So that gives a good picture of the ending of the Gita. So we'll finish at that point. Any questions? Or questions? Or contribution? Yes.
Krishna Prabhu.
Oh.
This Sanjaya was not on the battlefield, right?
Huh?
Sanjaya is not in the battlefield.
Ah, you came 5-10 minutes late. I explained that. Vedavyas, Shaktivesh avatar, and Sanjay is an accomplished disciple. So they have mystic connection. And Vedavyas was giving that power to Sanjay so he could perceive the battlefield and relate it to Dhritarashtra.
So he felt like he was right there. He felt like he was right there. That's why he narrated all the scenery to Dhritarashtra.
Yes.
But how can we feel like we are right there with Krishna today?
Well, worship Vedavyas. Maybe he'll give you the vision. How can we? Well, we feel a little bit like that now, today, don't we? Right? Here discussing a little Shakti by the grace of Krishna has come to us. We can see that. Because ultimately, Krishna consciousness is beyond words. Do you understand? So, words and philosophy, they describe and indicate the spiritual world, and they give us introduction, but ultimately experience of Krishna consciousness is on the transcendental platform. It is beyond the mind and senses. So that realm is not restricted like this world. Krishna and Krishna's devotees are not restricted. I remember reading in the Vedanta Sutra, commentary of Baladev Vidyabhushan, he explains that though the spirit soul is a tiny fragment of spirit, he has constitutional form, but that grows with the addition of the spiritual energy. And the living entities, the individual souls in the spiritual world, they have a status practically equal to Krishna. They become empowered by Krishna to such an extent so that they can relate to Krishna. Do you see my point? You see, an ant can't relate to an elephant, you could say, because of the difference. So Krishna is unlimited. But the liberated soul, this is in the Shastra, in the Muksha Kanda of Vedanta Sutra, that the liberated soul becomes empowered to such an extent by the grace of Krishna that he is practically equivalent to Krishna. But there is one potency that Krishna doesn't bestow on that companion in the spiritual world. Have a guess. The potency to make another creation. You know, Krishna has created the spiritual world, the material world, and all their variety within both. But that potency to create is not bestowed upon the living entity. So Baladev Vidyabhushan explains in that purport that that would cause confusion everywhere if there were different creations and different constructions. So that potency of being the creator remains with Krishna. But the living entity, like I say, he relates to Krishna on the equal basis. But they're forgetful. This is the point. They don't consider this is God and I'm his. We are just friends. We're lovers. We have parental association. They're in the ecstasy of prema. They're not calculating. You understand? They're not calculating. I'm this level and Krishna's this level. And they're just interacting in prema bhav, prema, the mood of prema. You understand? Does that answer your question? What was your question in the beginning? Yes.
Practically in my life, suppose when I travel alone for preaching, I am alone. So can I feel Krishna is there with me?
Yes, of course. Through devotion.
Or it is speculation of me?
Through devotion. I'll tell you something that happened to me some time back. A friend came to my house, so I was preparing some fruit, some pomegranate, and of course offered to Giriraj. So that friend said, I like pomegranate, but it's such a trouble to skin it and take all the little pieces out, and it's inconvenient. He was saying something like that. So what's wrong with that statement?
Yeah, it's a hard labor.
It's hard labor, yes, if you're doing it for yourself. But if you have bhava for Krishna, it's not hard labor. Prem Nidhi, understand? Because you're thinking, I'm taking the skin off and all the white bits and preparing the pomegranate for Krishna. Just like the mother loves the daughter or the child, the infant. And she doesn't think it's hard labor to feed the baby and clean the baby and cook, because it's love, because of bhava. But now when we're on the material platform, we think, oh, this is hard work preaching. I'm not saying this is your case, but we think, oh, it's inconvenient. I wish I was at home sleeping or something like that. I'm not saying this is you, because I know you're a good devotee. But what it means is when we're in the sadhana stage, when we're sadhakas, we have to consciously consider, I'm doing this for Guru. I'm doing this for Krishna. I'm doing this for Gaunitai. Then it doesn't become hard labor. Do you see my point? That means seva bhav. So when one is in bhava bhakti, then one has seva bhav. One has developed seva bhav. But when we're sadhaka, we don't spontaneously have this mood of service. You understand? And we think this is inconvenient, this is this, and so on. So we have to consciously, when we're sadhaka, practitioner devotees, we have to cultivate this mood of service to Guru and Krishna. We have to consciously adopt it. Do you understand? And so when you're preaching and this and that, you should think, I'm doing this for Krishna. I'm doing this for my spiritual master. I'm doing this for the acharyas. Do you see my point? Then with that attitude, you're linked to the spiritual platform and it becomes enjoyable. Just like if you're chanting, if you think, 16 rounds, Hare Hare, Hare Hare, then you... Right? You're thinking, this is a big labor. I wish it was prasadam time. I'm hungry. but if you think, I'm at a stage of sadhana, but now I'm going to remember Krishna and I'm going to chant as my offering to Krishna, Madhyaji. It's going to be my offering, seva bhav, right? And then you'll get a little taste. Because that is anukulyena, that is service attitude. Do you see my point? You're adopting the service attitude consciously. Just like Krishna said to Arjuna, what do you decide to do now, Arjuna? You decide. So when we're a sadhaka, we have to decide, we have to understand what is the mood of devotion and consciously adopt it. Do you understand? Because we're coming out of the material energy, whereas in the material energy, we're always thinking, what's good for me? What do I like? This is my time. I don't want to do that. I don't want to take the skin off a pomegranate. It's too... Look at all those little bits. No, no, We think, but if we're a devote, now if you're a prem bhakta, you think, oh, this is a nice pomegranate. I'm going to offer it to Krishna, right? You'll be enjoying it, you see, because it's your service. Do you see my point? So we're sadhaka, at least myself, we're sadhakas. We have to adopt the attitude of serving Guru and Krishna. Do you see the point? And then you won't feel alone. Then you won't feel discouraged. You understand? Because it's the difference between the material world and the spiritual world is what? Attitude. Of course, they're ecstatic and full-blown prem, but they have seva bhav. But in the material world, we want to serve me, serve me. Oh, chanting, I don't get any buzz out of it. No, you will get the mood of the spiritual world when you understand, oh, I chant for the pleasure of Krishna. And you should understand that even though I'm a tiny spirit soul, Krishna, you're very dear to Krishna. You understand? It's not that Krishna likes these souls and doesn't like those. He doesn't have a chosen race. You understand? Everybody is chosen by Krishna. Everyone is dear to Krishna. So, but we have, like I started on that verse, now decide what you do, Krishna told Arjuna. You decide. So sadhana bhakti is like that. We have to decide to practice devotion in a regulated way. You understand? Following in the footsteps of the acharyas. You understand? We have to adopt that mentality. I'm doing this for Guru. I'm doing this for Gaunita. I'm doing this for Radha and Krishna. You understand? And then that will awaken Shuddha Bhakti in our soul. You see?
So I'm not alone.
No, you're with all these great friends. We're all here. We're all here for you. So I think Chakradhari looks hungry. Any other question? Quick question? We'll finish on this point. Yes. So thank you very much. Thank you. You're encouraging me. You're encouraging me. Yes. And remember Saraswati, our Mahajan. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then Prabhupada said, this is Guru.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna.